The godfather of physics wrote in his findings from 1704 how the world is set to end on 2060, exactly 1,260 years after the foundation of the Holy Roman Empire. The late veteran US conspiracy theorist Jim Marrs outlined the 2060 passing date in a documentary before he died in August. Newton reached his apocalyptic conclusion by analyzing the Book of Daniels. According to his note, but how he reached the conclusion is exactly still a mystery more than 300 years later. His work on the matter, which was kept in the trunk in the house of Earl Portsmouth for 250 years, read, and I quote, "It may end later, but I see no reason for its ending sooner. This I mention not to assert when the time of the end shall be, but to put a stop to the rash conjectures of fanciful men who are frequently predicting the times of the end, and by doing so bringing the sacred prophecies into discredit as often as their predictions fail. It has led to speculation Newton may have been referring to Nibiru." The Mediocrity YouTube channel tweeted, and I quote, "So the late Jim Marrs predicted Nibiru is supposed to pass us in 2060. End quote. Weird, because that's the same year Sir Isaac Newton claimed the world would end. Newton's notes are on the show in Jerusalem's Hebrew University, and the curator of the exhibition, Yamima Ben Menachem, said that the famous physicist has been guided by religion and not by science. Sir Isaac had a morbid fascination with the end of the world, and the topic was even the subject of 2003 documentary, Newton, the Dark Heretic. Producer of that documentary, Malcolm Naum, said, "What has been coming out over the past 10 years is what an apocalyptic thinker Newton was. He spent something like 50 years and wrote 4,500 pages trying to predict end of the world was coming. But until now, it was not known that he ever wrote down a final figure. He was very reluctant to do so." Nibiru believers convinced the rogue Nibiru system is making its way from the outer solar system inwards, where it will wreak havoc on Earth as it passes at about 4 million miles away. They say the planet will cause pole shifts to switch, sparking the great earthquakes and volcanic eruptions, which threaten billions of lives. The Nibiru theory emerged in 1976 when the writer Zecharia Sitchin claimed the two ancient Middle Eastern cultures, the Babylonian and the Sumerians, told of a giant planet called Nibiru orbited the sun. There have been many false arrival dates predicted, which have so far come and gone. The Nibiru theory was linked to the beginning of the end of the world by Christian fundamentalists, who believed the rapture would start on September 23rd and connected to the celestial activity as interpreted from the passage in the Bible. But with the world still turning, yesterday the news told how Mr. Marrs claimed anyone saying Nibiru was coming in the next years or so was wrong. Speaking in an episode of Ancient Aliens, New World Order, before he died of a heart attack, age 73 in August, Mr. Marrs said Nibiru was not predicted to pass us until 2060, giving us more than 40 years to prepare. He said, and I quote, "Nibiru is destined to return to the vicinity of the Earth in 2060, so it could be on its way to our solar system now. Some people believe this is why we have the highly erratic weather and environmental changes that we see taking place on Earth. Of course, the governments act like nothing is going on, but what else is new?" Mr. Sitchin came up with a conspiracy theory after claiming to have deciphered cuneiforms writing on the ancient Sumerian tablets. Ancient language scholar Mr. Sitchin said records show that the Sumerian knew of an extra planet beyond Pluto called Nibiru. Theorists say, according to Mr. Sitchin's teaching, the next pass of Earth will take place around 2060. Not everyone agrees with Mr. Sitchin's interpretations of the text. NASA and a host of other scientists have debunked Nibiru as a myth. All these days for the end of the world came and went, because as NASA points out, Nibiru is a myth and hoax, despite the amount of believers. NASA scientist David Morrison said, and I quote, "There is no credible evidence whatsoever for the existence of Nibiru. There are no pictures, no tracking, no astronomical observations." And I quote, "I can quite specifically say how we know Planet X or Nibiru does not exist and does not threaten Earth. Firstly, if there was a planet headed into the inner solar system that was going to come, it would already be inside the orbit of Mars, easily visible to the naked eye. Space buff and Dr. Brian Cox also insists that Planet X does not exist. Click on that subscribe button and hit that bell icon to receive our latest notifications. Also, please give our video a thumbs up and comment your thoughts on this video. Thank you so much. Take care.